Anyway, for everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the fourth IGDC webinar that we are hosting right now. And the title for this one is a career making games. I'll leave the introductions to be done by Pratik, but I would introduce Pratik, who's the host for this webinar. Well, Pratik is a serial entrepreneur. He has, co-founded multiple companies in the field of video games, virtual reality, and custom hardware tech. If you mention tech or interactive, Pratik is the person for it. He's also the council member at Jedi and is also in charge for the marketing and technology for all the annual IGDC events that happen end of the year. So over to you, Pratik, and all the best to you, panel.
Thank you, Arjun. Welcome all to today's webinar. Let me quickly introduce our panelists for this session in alphabetical order. We have Anand Ramachandran. If you can just unmute and say hi, wave.
Hey guys.
So Anand here is a game designer. He's a creative director with over 20 years of experience in the games and entertainment industries. He's worked with billion-dollar companies to build mass market products, as well as has experience working with small boutique studios on niche offerings. We next have Erythro Mukherjee. Could you please unmute and wave?
Hi.
Hi, Aritra. He's a Unity trainer ambassador. Aritra is one of the youngest change makers promoting the adoption of real-time technology. He's been an independent developer with self-published games for mobile platforms, and his first PC game was crowdsourced for released on Steam and GOG. We next have Arpita Kapoor. Arpita?
Hi guys.
Arpita here is the co-founder of CEO and the CEO of Mech, Mocha, a mobile gaming startup backed by top-tier VCs, and they have built and scaled products to over 20 million plus unique Indian users. Mech Mocha's Hello Play is India's first live social gaming platform where over 500,000 monthly active users spend 35 minutes or more a day playing real-time multiplayer games. We next have Mayank Rajdoot.
Hey guys.
Mayank has started out as an animator and a rigging artist, worked his way up to become an art director before transitioning into his current role of studio head at Lakshya Digital's Pune studio. Mayank's been in the industry for over 15 years now and has exhaustive knowledge of the Indian game art outsourcing industry. We next have Rahul Sehgal.
Hello everyone.
Rahul here is the founder of UpYourGame, an education portal focused on education and skill development for the game industry. He's also creative head of the in-house game studio of GVC. They are the world's leading money-making, real money gaming company. We next have Vaibhav Chavan.
Hi guys.
Vaibhav is the founder and CEO of UnderDogs. It's an independent studio he started in 2011 after working in companies such as India Games, Game to Win, and Hungama. Vaibhav has over a decade of experience in the game industry and has covered all aspects from game design all the way to coding. Welcome all panelists. Let's get started right away. So in our first round of discussion, we're going to talk about the industry as a whole. The Indian games industry is broadly segmented into multinational studios, homegrown studios, independent developers, and freelance consultants. And the majority of the work done in the industry by these can be classified into console game outsourcing, that's mostly art and programming, mobile game localization, original IP development, mostly mobile, some PC, game testing, and game audio. I'd like to invite our panelists to first scope out the Indian industry for our audience by giving examples of companies in these segments, as well as detailing all the types of work that I mentioned. So I'll open up to you guys. If Mayank, would you like to start this?
Sure. Thanks, Pratik, for giving me the platform. Being with Lakshya for so long, I would be of course pretty biased, and I really think that our team is doing some pretty lit work. And we worked on some really exciting titles, and some recent ones are like Saints Row 3, which very recently got released, and Final Fantasy Remake. And then there are some other titles which are quite famous, like Sea of Thieves, Kingdom Hearts 3, and WWE series. So if I talk about the industry, Lakshya in specific is into AAA game art, and we are into the outsourcing business. And as far as the art is concerned, Lakshya provides pretty wholesome services for its clients, which is from concepts illustrations to 3D art, which is 3D environment, 3D characters, and then rigging to animation. So pretty much everything of the whole 3D asset creation pipeline. In fact, with the trust built up after with the clients after so many years of collaborative experience working together, so clients also approach us for some solutioning, not really only the art outsourcing thing. So this is about Lakshya, and if we talk about the industry overall, I think Indian game industry has become quite huge from being a very niche, very small industry that it was around 15-20 years back. Right now it's a multi-million dollar industry. It has become quite huge. I think it is about $900 million industry, Indian industry right now, which is close to 600 crores, which is quite big. So I really want to throw these figures out to the aspirants who actually want to join the industry, actually want to be a part of it. So it is not really considered to be that small now. It is a big industry now. I would leave other guys to comment from here. Rahul, would you want to take this up? Are you still muted, Rahul?
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, so when it comes to game studios, I have my feet in two boats, so to speak. So one side of one boat is casino gaming, in which I kind of almost by chance joined about 5 years ago. And so generally in India, the casino game industry, and I mean real money casino games, is not much known about, even though it's quite big. But it's kind of like it mostly it stays underground because our market is not in India. We don't it's illegal in India, obviously. Slots roulette is illegal in India. So my studio essentially focuses on making content for the world's largest platform. So it's like we are the in-house studio. We get place on the lobby. So my studio has about 7 or 8 artists, and the rest of them are client developers, server developers, testers, etc. And it's actually a very big market. And I know we're not the only ones. There are about 7, 8, 9, 10 studios like us doing the same kind of work. But it's kind of below the radar. No one talks much about it. But it's very viable, But the only thing is we don't play casino games. So you're essentially making games that you don't play. So that's a slight disconnect, but I'm over it. I've been doing that for 5 years now. The second thing, of course, is that I do consultancy also. So I kind of do design consultancy, and one of the studios I work with is Hitwicket. Hitwicket they're making Hitwicket Superstars, which is like a really I think one of the most innovative games around. It's kind of like fantasy cricket, and I think there are about 20 or 30 people, also based in Hyderabad. So that's kind of that's the studios that I work with.
Could we go on to Arpita, please?
Hi guys. Of course, Pratik did give an introduction. So if I have to look at, of course, just a quick view of what we do today and, and our journey. So I started directly out of college, and gaming as a space excited, India as a market excited. India was very, very early. This is pre-Geo when I started Mech, Mocha, and so it was like primarily single player, and you had the wave of Teen Patti and all of those local homegrown games starting to kind of pop up. And I think our biggest motivation to start a startup in this space was just the fact that India will come online, India will get smartphones, they will want entertainment. And, post lockdown, we all feel how important killing boredom and ensuring that people are challenged and they compete and they collaborate. So I think just the space really, really excited, and the ability to kind of tell stories along with very, very deep technology. As a tech graduate, that excited, me and my co-founder Mohit, and that's how we started Mech Mocha. Our journey has been from, publishing IPs such as Chota Bheem, Jetpack Joyride. So we partnered with Halfbreak, we got their IP and localized it for India. Then, Geo happened, people came to multiplayer gaming. Vision has always been making India play, and we realized that people want to play real-time multiplayer games, and we saw a huge opportunity in doing platform and letting any developer come over to the platform, and we build the technology and the stack powering the platform. So today Hello Play is a platform where we have multiple games which are all real-time multiplayer, and kind of the meta game is built by Mech Mocha. So whether it is leagues, leaderboards, social ability to add friends, skill gaming, live video, voice chat while you're gaming, those are the aspects that we have kind of invested in, and we've partnered with multiple studios in India. We have worked with Roosh, we have worked with Artoon to bring their games onto our platform. And it's been an incredible journey, kind of enabling some of that. In terms of industry, I think we today kind of fall under the platform. So there are studios in India, and I would not even call them studios because these are startups who are technically platforms. So MPL is one. They do platform gaming, skill gaming, primarily with real cash. 99 Games has a platform called Game Gully. Hello Play is a multi-gaming platform. I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but there is a category where the companies are not building games but building platforms. Often they will choose to build a game, but I think the core focus is to build the technology to enable developers to reach more and more users. One other key focus that we've had is local language users. So we've spent a lot of time building the platform in 8 languages. I can probably answer questions around that. It is hard to do quiz in 8 languages, or even just the entire platform in over 8 Indian languages. So that's been something that has been of latest kind of challenge for us, and happy to kind of cover more of this over the panel.
Thank you, Arpita. Vaibhav?
Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about is the overall industry aspect. Like back in early 2000s, right, there were hardly few companies which we as, people who wanted to start a career in games wanted to get into industry. We were looking at these companies. There were only 4 or 5 companies that even we knew at that time. This was back in 2000 to 2005, 2006. Companies like India Games, even Lakshya, Dhruva, Nazara, we majorly focusing on Symbian phones because the smartphones were not there. But right now, if you ask me, it's been like 15 years. The overall industry has evolved to a level where I specifically categorize companies in three sectors. One of the huge companies, the bigger companies in India, who are either into real money gaming or casino based gaming, or say they are making games for OEMs or the telecoms, right? Also, there are companies, the bigger companies, who are focusing on IP-based games, like the proper games which are working really well, one particular genre or one particular mechanic of a game, but then using the IP of a very popular brand and converting it into a game. I think those are the bigger companies who are doing fabulous job in terms of making business and money out of these games. The second category I would say are the mid-scale independent studios, say studios like around 5 to 15 people companies who are actually taking a bigger risks than what I feel in the overall industries, because these are homegrown IPs that these people are building. If you ask me, a couple of companies who are doing this, I would say independent studios like Sigma Games, company owned by Himanshu and Govardhan. They are making some homegrown IPs which are going at a global scale, which are very, very unique and making some huge name for themselves. Companies like Street Lamp Games by Deepak, they're making the similar kind of independent games. Companies like Farscore Interactive, recently they cracked a game which was very, very popular. Then the third category is because of the introduction of tools, free tools like Unity and all the other, Blender, which is now very, people are right now using it to a different level now, because it's free and people are, very much into experimenting with these 3D tools as well. So I think a team of say one man team or a 2 to 3 people team, these teams are right now evolving with some amazing games also. So I think for me, it's like 3 different sectors: bigger companies, mid-scale companies, and these are these small-time developers who are also very good in their work.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Aritra, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So hi, I was like very lucky to like I almost got to start right from school, and I worked my way up. I worked with a lot of freelance projects, and then I have been close to like friends in and out of the industry. And recently, I also like got close to mentorships from Google and all. So it's been a joyride throughout the career, and I right now I work in a company that is like powering over like 50% of top grossing games worldwide. And yes, so what has really fascinated me, like Vaibhav said about the independent developers that come up and like really go far with the tools that we provide, is brilliant. I mean, the job opportunities that are coming up in India regarding like requiring Unity developers is amazing. And if you are a Unity developer, it means you are transdisciplinary, and not only in the games industry, but you can also be a part of one of the major industries like aerospace, architecture, construction, and all of it. What has really fascinated me is the amount of previously it was more about chasing specializations, but right now we are focusing on promoting generalists. And to me, becoming a generalist is like being a detective. You collect all of, like, you have a huge blackboard of elements, and you collect information from people. You see others' projects, you basically appreciate others' project and take a snap and pin it to the blackboard, and then work your way out to derive the pipeline out of it and learn from it. Because these tools like Unity, like free tools like Unity, or any other engine that is available in the market right now, it is more about like it engages more kind of an adult learning, something which you learn by doing rather than going through a more structured process. So yes, so like that has really fascinated me about like being a generalist in the industry.
Okay, thank you, Aritra. And last but not least, Anand.
So the way I want to kind of approach this question is to give people an idea of what sort of companies are there in the industry, and the way that I look at it. Right, people have spoken about and the industry in India is like really wide. People have spoken about platform players. People have spoken about technology players. People have spoken about real money industry. But I want to throw some light about people who make like good old fashioned games. Right, a lot of us just came into the industry because we just wanted to make like games, just games. And there's lots of people who are doing that. Vaibhav mentioned quite a few of them. So there are multiple things. In my experience, the place where I cut my teeth in the industry was at Zynga, and I think Zynga is still extremely relevant and extremely important in the industry in India. Zynga has been a hotbed of learning for many of the developers who've gone on from there to kind of do a lot of stuff here. It's a great place to go, and it's a great place to learn how to make games and how to do the business around games. I would still say that it is a fantastic place, and they're doing some seminal work there. They're also, like Vaibhav mentioned, there are lots of studios of different sorts, right? I'm like blown away by the kind of things that Nottingham guys are doing with Raji, and I've been following that story. It's an inspirational story, right? Ups and downs, and they've gone through. All of us here have gone through like absolute shit. I'm going through some right now, but it's the thing to stick with it and continue to make games because you love to make games. It's very tempting to go and do other stuff, and just some people just give up and start doing other things. But it's great to see studios, and there are a lot of studios who are still making games. Shout out to a couple of other small studios, the way that Vaibhav mentioned. I think what the guys are doing at Hypernova, Josefa and Mayur is like really, really cool. And they've like gone through so much of a journey. It's a really interesting thing to see where they've come. The guys at Gautam and Vijay, and the guys at Holy Cow, Mystic Pillars was launched on multiple platforms, and it's looking really cool. So there are lots of companies doing like really cool stuff in games at different scales, and just plain good old fashioned games. What we're trying to do at Bigfatphoenix Interactive is we're like trying to make really fun kids games that help them with skill.
financial literacy, budgeting, those kind of skills. We're trying to build games, and we're trying to build games learning games that don't play like shit, because most learning games tend to kind of get lost. The fun factor is, kind of lost, because it's not like actual game developers working on it. It's well-intentioned people from the learning space. So we're trying to bridge that gap and make some really fun games for kids, which can help them take away actionable, useful skills.
Okay, thank you so much. So moving ahead, I'd like each one of you to speak exclusively about the teams within each of your companies. The 5 points are essentially your team composition, what the players in your team do, what they studied, if that's possible, why they were hired by you, and what their career point, the entire path of their career looks like within your organization. We want to try and give our audience an idea of the type of careers as well as the entire growth path through your companies. Who would like to start?
I can.
Sure.
All right. So, since I already mentioned that we are into outsource business and the size that we have, so we, along with that size, we do cater to all the kinds of service lines. So we of course have different teams, like 2D team is there, and then the 3D team, then rigging team, animation team. We have a very small VFX team as well. But I would not really want to go into the exact to-dos for each member of each team, because that keeps changing. It is the variation. It depends on the kinds of the project that you get at one point of time, or the kind of the complexity, and we kind of not really stick to one kind of stuff. That if an environment artist is just good in one kind of hard surface modeling or that kind of stuff, so he will just stick to that only. So people are offered variety of things if they can do that. So not going into very specific of that, but I would really want to mention that because the clients have all these options, and they are looking for such stuff and such variety of stuff. So whatever the discipline is, whatever the project you're allocated, the basic requirement from anyone from a team for any project team is to be productive part of the team. So working as a team member is a must, which any company looks for, or any company wants their people or artists to focus at, while maintaining the personal best outputs, of course. And I can safely say that as an organization, Lakshya also loves challenging itself, and those challenges could be in terms of the kind of stuff that we've never worked on, or it could be maybe the client has a requirement where the timelines are really stringent and we don't really have much of leeway there. So we love to take up such challenges, and we really like to win through those challenges. So this was what people actually do and what we expect from people. But if we come to what these guys have studied and they've focused on, and what we look before hiring somebody is, like, there is no professional degree or qualification that we actually look for. So this is purely about the art thing, because we cater to only art services. Of course, for the tech and all, engineering background and all that is required. But speaking from the art standpoint, there is no professional thing that we look for, because we do have people on our team who are straight out of high school and have trained themselves, on their own. And on the other side, we also do have people who really have professional art degrees, fine art degrees. We also do have people who are from engineering background and then they switched their careers. So this is, so this keeps changing. We don't really have any specific requirement. The reason we hire people, or what we look into people, while hiring them, is their ability to learn. That is the primary factor, and they should have genuine interest in arts and games. Being open to learning is the, I would say, is the biggest factor. Hiring someone who's extremely talented, yet very rigid, it can be a nightmare for any team. So, that is the primary point that we look for. Have I covered all the points, Pratik?
If you could cover what their career path looks like.
Okay. All right. So in our company, we actually like to home grow our talent. Talent is one major factor, because they are at the rate the industry is growing. Talent is one missing point, which I think all companies are struggling with in today's date. There is a lot of business out there. There's a lot of work to be done, but the actual good talent is missing. There could be many reasons to it. Maybe some people are just following the trend, not really following their own instinct. That is also one major point. But for all these reasons, we really like to home grow our talent, and we hardly hire somebody at very senior positions. All our senior management people and senior artists and leads, they are kind of homegrown. For the same reason, we do have our own in-game academy. It's called In-Game Academy, where we take in aspirants who are close to where they need to be to get into industry, but still they need some polishing. So just that polishing kind of, so we provide all that at subsidized rate. So that is not really a business model. That is just to fulfill our own needs. So that is the way we kind of get people into our system. There are live examples. So if we talk about their path or their growth trajectory, there are people in our system who actually started as junior artists and became leads in a matter of 2.5 or 3 years. So that kind of growth opportunity is available, and this exactly means that there are no strict rules charted out for different genres or different teams out there. So people are free to choose their own path. They just have to be game for it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mayank. I'd like to move on to Arpita for this question now.
Yes. So I think I'll just go by the structure of the question. So the way the organization for us is structured when it comes to people who end up making the product is primarily split into engineering, QA, design, marketing, product. And these are like 5 broad domains in which anyone at Mech Mocha at any point of time would end up working. And since the audience of the of this webinar is early, I would like to focus on just the early kind of trajectories in these departments. So for engineering, I think we accept applications all across from fresh grads. We also go to campuses. We go to our own campus where the founders are from. We've gone to VIT. We go to local Bangalore colleges. We have done the length and breadth of where we can go to find the best engineering talent. And when we look at engineering talent, it's primarily your ability to solve the assignments that you are given when we are interviewing. It has nothing to do with where you come from or what your college is, as long as you clear the assignments that are part of the hiring process, and as long as you kind of clear the bar for our culture and the kind of people we like, from a drive point of view, from an attitude point of view, we are open to hire fresh grads all across in engineering. For product, we primarily hire entry-level positions as product analyst. And what we look for in that role is your sense of how well can you look at a game or an app and find out what the core aspects of it are, and then kind of recreate or quantify some of them so that we know that how you perceive the apps that you look at. So for product analysts, the skill set we look at is your ability to work with data, your ability to work with a game designer, your ability to look at a product and tell the aspects that are important in it. Again, very much dependent on our interview process, less on where the application came from, whether you studied in engineering or you studied design, whatever you studied, as long as you are passionate about this role and as long as you clear the interview process, we are very happy kind of hiring you. Product analysts usually grow either deep into data, which is analytics, or deep into product management, where they work closely with designers to deliver features on a platform. The third team at Mech Mocha is design, and design is broadly split into UI, UX, graphic design, game design. At any point, people play different roles in the team. For design, we've been successful hiring through Mac, Arena, early stage people. I can walk through some trajectories where people just graduated out of Mac and then joined us and primarily hired for their drive. and ability to, you know, take challenges and deliver them. We also have, you know, hired from Shrishti, NID, again, people who apply directly to us. So a breadth of, again, options, but very focused on either UX, UI, or graphic design. Game designers, in terms of entry level, we don't hire. When we hire, we either hire you as a QA or as a level designer, and then we grow you into the game design or any broader roles like product management. Coming to QA, we primarily have hired game QA from, you know, companies that existed before us or along with us. We have also hired fresh tech grads for QA engineering. So if you've studied engineering, you can get into QA. So if you've studied engineering, you're really passionate about games, then QA might just be a very, very, obvious entry point into the industry. In marketing, we've hired all creative people. So there's literally been no source of where we get our marketing team from. It's primarily people who apply. We give like random assignments that how will you market a game like this to somebody sitting in Indore, and you know, people apply, do those assignments and get through. Overall, when it comes to just the process, as I said, we look for things that kind of help you fit in our culture, and then a lot of focus is on what steps have you taken. So wherever you are in the country, you can take some little steps. Like there are so many no code tools today where you can code something even when you don't know to code. There are so many tools where you can build things without really knowing programming. There are so many places like this webinar where you can reach out to industry people. So what have you done wherever you are? So I think that is very essential for us. And then how much you have researched about us, how excited you are about our products. Some of that is what we look in the hiring process, other than the assignments that we have curated and created for these roles. Pratik, anything else that you would like me to cover?
No, thank you, Arpita. That was extremely detailed. I think a lot of the questions which have come in will already be answered by your little information.
Sure.
Up next, Anand.
Okay, so I've done hiring at multiple companies, right? I've hired teams and built teams at Zynga. I built teams at Hike Messenger. I built teams at Byju's, and now I'm building teams at Bigfatphoenix Interactive, right? So I'll speak only about how I'm hiring for a creative process, because other roles like engineering and product and stuff like that will be covered in a. When we hire, see, we are a team currently of game designers. Like for me, on my team, if you're not thinking like a game designer, you can't work on my team, regardless of the role. Like even the product manager has to be able to think like a game designer. Even an engineer or an artist has to think like a game designer, because we're making games. Without understanding games and how game design works, it will be difficult. So we look for, we treat everyone as like, how do we hire a good game designer? And there are multiple things that go in this. Let's get the easy one out of the way first, is that educational qualification is good, but it's not a must. All it does is it tells me that some basic things you already know. That's all. The presence of a degree sometimes, in fact, I've seen, then I'm like, if you have this degree, then why do you not know these things? So sometimes it's counterproductive. But by and large, if there is some game design qualification, it tells me, okay, I can, there's some basic knowledge, but it's by no means is it, I'm in agreement with what everyone else is saying. It's by no means a requirement. Skill, it depends on the seniority, right? It depends on, if you're hiring for a very senior position, then there are a lot of tests, there are breakdowns, there are exercises and stuff which you have to do. If it's for a more junior position, that becomes less important, and we look for other things, right? So in terms of skill, it really depends on the role that you're looking for, and where we're hiring. What is really important to us is to what Arpita said, right? We look for genuine intent. It's not what you say, it's what you do. Somebody who can come and tell me, I have these 100 ideas for games, and somebody who built Pong, I will go for the second candidate 100 times out of 100. Because today, if you have not done something, it means you don't have genuine intent, and we don't have place for you on our team. If you do have genuine intent, I don't care what your skill level is, you can learn. And we are there to help you. And I go with what Mayank says, I believe that too. You can come in without skill, that's fine. If you come in with attitude, that's our job to teach you the skill. We'll teach you the skill. I will back somebody 100% if you have the right attitude. I will work day and night to help you, but I need to see the attitude. The other thing we look at is an open mind. We have we put down in Bigfatphoenix an ethical vetting system in our interview. If you don't agree with our ethics, our politics, our views, then we're not going to be able to work together really well. We're building a diverse team. We're building a team. We have an equal split of men and women and people of gender fluidity. We look for people from differing backgrounds and differing. We don't have an age preference. If you're young, you're old, it doesn't matter. We're looking to build a diverse workspace. It's not the only way to build it, but that's how we're looking to build it. So we look for people whose attitudes fit in with us, and we have an actually explicit vetting process for it. Is how we go about hiring things, right? So the people on this team, none of them I hired for this team. All of them are people who worked with me before. And and most of them I hired them at Byju's. And why we hired them at Byju's was because they came in with fantastic skills, really, really solid drive, and a good, solid portfolio of things that they had done before. And in the conversation, it went really well. Somewhere in my inside, I know I'm going to be able to work with this person. Many times I've rejected people with fantastic portfolio and resume because there's no connect. And the conversation doesn't go well. And it's really, really critically important in creative work. I don't know about other areas, but I can tell you that if a bunch of team, if one of the rules that I say is if you're not having fun making it, your player won't have fun playing it. So if we don't have people who we know can work well together, and so team fit is a hugely, hugely important thing for us. In terms of, and again, in terms of educational background, in our team, we have 8 people. 4 of them are qualified, hold formal qualifications in game design. 4 of them do not. I am not even a college graduate. I don't have a college degree. So we have pretty much fairly wide split of people. So we don't care whether, it's not like having a college degree works for you or against you. It's another factor. That's about it. The thing that in terms of career path at Bigfatphoenix Interactive, we're a small studio. Everyone we hire now, I look at leading a team 2 years down the line. So we look for people who are comfortable working with other people, who have a genuine desire to help other people grow. We have no place for people who will, don't want to help other people grow, because without having that, you can't grow an organization. So we are not at a stage where we are hiring people, for an individual contributor's role. So everybody who comes on board, we check for, will this person be able to lead a team or a division, 1 or 2 years down the line. So that's something that we look for. And career path, the way I look at career path in my teams is I always look at every member of my team from my intern is how is this person going to replace me? So their career path is always leading directly up to mine as long as they're working on my team, right? I'm looking at how can I get this person to replace me is how I look at career path all the time.
Sure. Thank you, Anand. Thank you so much. Next, we'd move on to Vaibhav. He can give us some insights into independent.
Yeah, so my perspective is totally different from you guys. Like in terms of the team strength, because it's a small company, it's a very small studio. We are 10 people with 2 interns. The composition is 4 programmers. We are 3 artists, 2 designers, and I majorly focus on the business as well as the design and the product quality. We don't have QA in-house. Whenever we want to get things tested, we usually, the first phase is internal, and then we outsource it to the other companies. Also, the music is always a part of the outsourced thing. Other than that, we never went into a situation where we were, we have to nurture the game to a level where we have to do a lot of analytics and stuff like that, because we majorly focus on B2B at this moment, and we do sort of collaborative work with in B2C sector. So that's the composition. They like I mentioned, the roles are specifically generic, and because it's a small studio, a lot of times the roles are swapped. People do a lot of stuff. So one guy, if it's a game designer, he tends to do a prototyping of a game as well, because we also do some sort of hyper casual games now. So one thing I learned in my career is when I was working at Games to Win compared to when I was working for Hungama, right? Games to Win at that time was a very small company, but we used to do, being a game designer, we used to do a lot of other tasks as well. And I think that's one of the core things that anybody who wants to start new can take that path, because the things that you learn in a smaller company are are totally different from what you learn in a bigger company. Probably, I think this is just my perspective. I may be wrong, but this is what I have learned in various companies, in various level of companies. So that's something that we also do. We allow people to do multiple things also. It's not mandatory, but people who want to experiment with their skills and do other things also, they are free to do that. Then if you talk about the studies or the qualifications, I'll be very open about it, to speak about it, that 80% of my team strength is undergraduate. They are not at all graduates, and I really don't care about their graduations or qualifications as such, unless and until they are good at what they do. That's And I think Mayank and Anand all already spoke about that. One factor which is right now missing in this generation is what I feel is humility and the gratitude towards towards the opportunities that they get. If in that interview we see that kind of attitude coming out from these people, even if they don't know much about the tech part, it's okay. It's really okay, because we see that hunger, we see that passion, we see that humility to be and learn within that environment, create a bond with the people around. I think that's an in for us. We tend to hire these kind of people. If I have to compare between two people, one who has a tremendous amount of knowledge but cannot bond with the team, versus one who has that that passion to be in a team and work and learn stuff, but has lesser skill, I would prefer the other guy, the second guy. So that's my strategy when I am trying to hire people and I'm trying to build people. Why they were hired is one of the things that I would definitely want to mention here is when I started UnderDogs, it was like a 4x4 space. It was just a 4 square feet into 4 square feet small space within a mechanical workshop. Now in that space, there were two guys who came in and decided to stay in that company. That was the biggest factor for me. While I was hiring these people, I'll be and I'm very proud to say that those two guys who I hired back in 2011 in that smaller space are still with me. It's been 9 years that we are working together, and I think that's one quality which is very, very important for me when I try to meet people and hire them. It's now in over all these years that we have worked, it's easier to identify those people, and that's the way we look forward when we try and hire people. The career paths, basically, see, like I said, whenever we try and do some sort of contracts with people, when we hire them, there are these basic standard contracts. But if we see people doing tremendous job, or something which they are not expected to do but they do, we really chuck that contracts out of the system and get them up on a bigger level, because they have that potential, because they have that skill to do that kind of work. So for us, there is no specific ladder as such. It's how you perform in the company. You might get up very, very soon. Also, at the same time, on the negative side, if we see that it's not a great connect, we just ask them to find another opportunity, or even we get into that space where we try and figure them some opportunities where we can connect them with other people that can match their their way of working. So that's the overall structure that we follow.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Over to Rahul now.
Hey guys, so I'll try and talk a little bit about career paths. Right now, I have a very, very unusual career path. About 12 years ago, I was on a ship on the navigating bridge of a ship. I was a merchant naval officer, wearing a white uniform, and I used to play games, right? So then I decided to go to game school in Vancouver, and that changed my life. So now I make games. So ultimately, the one thing I will say is the only way to learn how to make games is to make games, right? So this is a very, 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 very intensely practical field. So that applies even if you're going to a game school, right? Now, there are several career paths that you can take, but ultimately, this is a very, very practical subject, a really good way. If people are lost as to how do I get in, how do I get a job, make a game. How do you make a game? Get some people together, try and fool around by yourself, make a game, release it, right? That will bring you down to Mother Earth. That will teach you what it means to create a game. So making a game is very hard, and making even $1 from a game is another exponential level of hardness above that. So you need to be brought down to earth and say, okay, this is what it takes. Like if you still want to make games after you made your first game, you are done, right? That's awesome. So make a game somehow. So so that's the most important thing. And to be honest, people are absolutely lost as to how do you make your first game. So this is why I've actually started UpYourGame. So what we do is, so I have an online platform where I have modular classes, like I'll teach game design, game art. So I kind of teach these. So we're in beta right now. So teach these online, but it all feeds into doing your actual game project. So you will learn stuff, and then you will be able to form teams with people remotely and actually be able to make your game. So till the time you actually make a game on your own, you don't know, right? And it's important to make a game and also kind of look at your process, deconstruct it, learn from it, and be able to tell people, okay, this is what I did. Maybe my game didn't make a single rupee, but this is why, this is how, this is the process we went through. So this is the most important thing. Now, looking at team roles, etc., there are people who have followed this process, who have kind of been part of game teams. Like I have kind of woven through making my own games and then working for a corporation. So I've been kind of weaving back and forth and working for somebody and working for myself. And that's been really good for me. Right, that's been really good for me. It's taught me a lot of things. So in my team, I have people who are, I have some people who have been to school and are kind of okay, right? I have people who have been to school and they have really, really gotten a lot from that, and they're really advancing very far. And I have people who have got zero formal education, don't even know how to speak English, and they are absolutely rocking it. Okay, so a lot depends on your attitude, and you have to do other stuff. Like you have to push the boundaries, you have to be a self-starter. You can't just be doing the thing that you have been given, the job that you have been given by your boss, and then it'll be fine. No. You have to do that, and you have to say, Arey, can I try that? That's interesting. Can I learn that skill? Can I do this? Can I do that? Like you have to keep pushing the boundaries. You have to, every week you should learn something new and try something new. No matter you fail miserably, nobody accepts it, you try it. These are the kind of people who they, like, if you look at their careers, they leapfrog, they go really fast. Their career paths not like this, their career paths go like that. So it's like, I mean, that's when you say passion, it's a very abused word. But what passion is, you have to do extra. Like you always have to do stuff on the side. You have to try stuff. Don't sleep. Like stop playing games. Like I literally tell people that, if you want to make games, cut down on your playing game time and do other stuff. You know what I mean? So like, it's really, really important. These are the kind of people who really rise fast and who do well, and they get promoted and get hired. So like that's my take.
Thank you, Rahul. To round this off, we have Aritra next. He's in a slightly different position from the rest of us because he actually is with Unity. So like that insight from you, please.
I'd also like to add what Rahul said, and all of us like agree on this, that there's a lot of passion that is required in the industry. I have also been a guest lecturer at many universities in India, and I follow a very like planned way of teaching. So I was experimenting with my teaching models, and I removed the scoring part out of it. After a 3-week training session, I removed the scoring part out of it. And then in the last week, I started a hackathon with all of the guys in the class and told them that build something out of it. Because yes, you have to agree that if you want to learn to make games, you have to like go out and get there in the field and swing the bat, rather than actually like figuring out I need to do this and do that and all that. So once I removed the score out of that score out of the like curriculum, their entire like focus was on chasing quality. If it all comes down to one thing in the games industry, it is quality. It's if you imagine about real estate, we chase locations, we sell products for based on locations. Here we sell products for quality. So and for you as a talent, as a new talent in the industry, what you really need to do, what you really need to focus is how can you add to the team being a disciplinary guy. The way you can do this is to actually leverage social media as well as use your LinkedIn profile, GitHub profile, and Twitter to actually build an amazing portfolio out there that gets attention from real people in the industry, and that is evaluated by people who have been in the industry and can share real feedback. We are so approachable in terms of this industry is so approachable to professionals, is that you can just like text some of us and just figure out, is this good? And you have to, first of all, you have to make your mind that if someone just comes up to me and says, to agree to that and actually get better on that, rather than getting demotivated out. And as far as working in Unity is concerned, like as far as I'm concerned at working in Unity, I basically help the users out. I basically help the developers out, and I get to work with a lot of teams that are building games, indie studios as well as professional studios. And their main focus is to get something out of you, because you really need to be good at what you're doing. And like Rahul said, that you actually have to show interest on what others. I am being a generalist, I do all of the things. I like wear a lot of hats. So if I see one of my professional guys doing getting better at a 3D art, like, can I try sculpting this face? Like, can I just try rubbing that brush out and then actually go out and search the internet how I can do it? The stage is yours. Like, there are so many online resources available there. You can actually structure an entire career out of it. Speaking of my own career, I was offered this job at Unity before even completing my computer science graduate. So what I really want to state is that it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter as long as you're concerned in moving ahead and actually get feedback from real people in the industry.
Okay, thank you, Aritra. So I guess the common thread about everything is about having passion and having the right attitude. Everything else does fall into place. We'll now move on to the curated questions. During the registration process of this webinar, a lot of people had the opportunity to ask their own personal questions. What we have done is that we've taken a preference for the questions which are related to the topic of the session, which is careers and industry. And we have taken like a count of the most common questions. I'm going to run through a few of them with you. And this is open to all of you panelists. Please just raise your hand and start talking. The first question which we have seen a lot of is, how has COVID-19 affected the industry in terms of remote recruitment, work from home? Is there a downturn, things like that? So, yeah, Mayank.
Yeah, I'll take this up. So, first of all, because of this situation, the whole world is sitting at home. Ultimately, they are consuming a lot more content than they usually used to consume earlier. Games are being played more, hence the requirement is more. On another aspect, this industry never worked out of home, and now when the push came to shove, we all didn't have any other option than trying it out. So a lot of companies have actually very successfully been able to work from home, establish this environment, which is actually, really good point in terms of scalability. Now the scalability is not really a question. As I already said, the business is already there. So if teams can work out of their own home, the scalability is really easy to achieve. Yeah, so the content is being required more, hence there is more requirement, and the scalability on the other hand is really easy. So of course, so this actually was a really positive thing for at least the gaming industry.
So it's worked well for everybody. Vaibhav?
Yeah, for us, it has worked well because the amount of so in terms of B2B, the amount of requests that we get to create, product-based promotions uh, during this period is like 5x more than what we used to get earlier. In terms of people, the team has started working. In fact, we thought that it would hamper the overall production cycle, but what we've realized is people started working a lot when they are at homes. There is no cut times, like there is no time limit on a day. Like they even sending builds at like 12 at night, and which something which we never did in a physical studio. So I'm not saying that people should be doing it. Like it's like people are very comfortable now because they are at home. They take breaks in the middle of the day, which is very fine because they are doing their job, and it doesn't matter if they are on timeline. So for us, the production has been good since the lockdown, and the hiring process also, because it's now it's very easy for people to approach online and get that things done really well. So I think in terms of business as well as in terms of teams, it's been helpful for us.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Rahul, have you put your hand up, or are you thinking about something? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
I was thinking about something, to be honest, but I can take that. So again, I work in casino gaming, so it's actually 150% up. Like it's up massively. Like I said, when people are sitting at home, so definitely people are playing more games. I don't know if they're spending more, but they're definitely playing more games. But the issue is that there has been a bit of a shock. There has been a bit of a liquidity shock, and there are a lot of companies which are actually in kind of like in cash conservation mode. Like my company, for example, they kind of went into a shell and said, okay, let's conserve our cash for some time. Let's put a hiring freeze. But now that they found that, okay, this working from home thing is actually working quite well. As a matter of fact, the CFO is saying, bhai, we are saving a lot of money on office rent, so let's continue with this. No, so in fact, that is the conversation that is going on in industry right now. Like, why did we have such a big office in the first place? Like, a lot of people are asking these questions now. So massively, especially more game companies that have a more innovative culture, are really asking questions of themselves. Yeah, we were doing things that way, but is that really the right way to do it? Can we change? So that question is going around a lot. The recruitment process is changing. I mean, the hiring process is changing. So this is a massive time of change, right? But I would say generally for the game industry, things are okay, right? Things are okay. It's like we are not too badly hit. So like, we are good.
Okay, thank you so much. Would any of the other panelists like to add to that, or should we move on? Okay, we're going to move on now. Now, a lot of you have asked questions, and I mean the audience, about the career path and how to get into gaming. And I'm sure by now you would have realized all our panelists have essentially said they don't really tend to look at what you study. However, I'm going to read out some of the questions which you have for the panelists, so then they have an idea of something they might wish to answer. There are about 7 or 8 points here which are very common amongst the 40-50 odd questions we've received. There seem to be a lot of people who are into engineering and want to shift into gaming. There's people who have been working in companies like 3i or Infosys who are Java backend programmers who want to switch into game programming. There are a couple of students who want to know what to pick for 12th so they don't get stuck in a stream. There's somebody who wanted to know about how to convince her parents that this is a viable profession and she can get into it. There were a couple of students who were concerned about the quality of their demo reel and portfolio, and they wanted some guidance on it. A lot of people, surprisingly, have been asking about how to get QA jobs at various companies. And there have been quite a few people who have been commenting on the non-availability of fresher job profiles. We have somebody who says he's been trying since 6 years and not been able to get a job because he's a fresher. And another who's been asking studios about taking in interns, and practically everywhere he's approached, he's not been taken in because they don't take interns. So, I mean, that's kind of the feel of the questions you're getting. Who'd like to start? Okay, Arpita, let's go with you.
Yeah, so I'll take just the two parts of these list of questions. I think one is engineering and switching to game engineering from being a generic technology engineer in any of these tech companies. And the second is the QA hiring in Fresh. We've seen both of these during our journey. So I think the first is very simple. I have seen that the best programmers somehow love doing games. Like, we have never found a programmer who says that, okay, I am really good, but I don't enjoy building games. I think games is a very, very deep application for really complex stuff, whether it is, really complex stuff like AI or very simple stuff like interfaces. There is a role for every engineer when you are building games or platforms around games. And I think all you need to focus on is, are you a good problem solver? If you can solve a problem by even pseudocode, like even without knowing the language of programming, I think this industry is for you. When you apply, make sure that you are showing your passion for why you want to work on a game. Like, have you built a game? If you're an engineer and you are sending an email without a game that you have built, then no one's gonna entertain, even if you are from gaming industry or not. So I think there are simple stuff that can be built, and you should be building yesterday and not today, and then applying. And I think every hiring manager would look at it really well. We have never differentiated for backgrounds. What we see is that people who have background in gameplay engineering are people who are really strong in physics. So if you are very strong in core concepts of physics, you will end up being a good game programmer. So that could be a place to start. So whether if you want to enter and really do like hardcore gameplay stuff, like even if it is a simple thing of, how the balls move in 8-ball pool, I think if you're strong in physics, you'll do really well. So spend time in just being really good at core physics. But that switch is totally possible. If you're facing issues, you can write to me. I'll share my email over the panel, but I don't think you should be facing that issue. In terms of QA entry-level roles, we, at least as Mech Mocha, primarily look at your ability to identify issues. So we don't even, give you games in assignments. We give you really poorly built apps. And we tell you to find everything that you feel is odd, not from a technical bug point of view, but from a flow point of view. So let's take an example of a local store who just made an app for their store. And usually those apps have a lot of flow issues. We'll give you that and we'll ask you to identify what's wrong. So whether it's a game or an app or anything, if you have that eye for detail and eye for how a user will perceive it, then we'll probably, take you in and then train you for everything else. So if you're looking at entry-level QA roles, be very good at playing games or using products, and be very good at identify why will a user feel something is odd, and then identifying, highlighting, suggesting a fix is something that you should get better and better at. So you can do assignments yourself. Like, you can take an app and say, okay, what do I feel can be better in terms of flows, bugs, technology, user experience, and then share it with the company you are applying to. And they will delightfully look at it. Like, if somebody writes an email to me on after QAing Hello Play for 10 hours and telling me what's wrong, I would love to hire them. I would love to look at the details that they have gone into.
Thank you, Arpita. Rahul, there seems to be a question that's on the live chat and also in theme with some of the things which you have had earlier on the Google Sheets. It's about people who are asking about a formal degree or formal education before getting into this field, either to work in India or abroad. I think you'd be best suited to answer that.
Sure. So here's the thing. So I'll try and give you a quick answer about game school and structured education. So now, making games, if you're going to learn how to make games, if you're going to go on the internet, you have millions and millions of courses. So you can, like I said, at the cost of repeating myself, the only way to learn how to make games is to actually make them. But this is a very, very iterative and a very mistake prone process. So to learn how to make games, especially without mentorship or guidance, is kind of hard. You will spend maybe 3 years or 4 years or 5 years to reach a certain level of skill, or you'll make a lot of mistakes to reach there. Now, going to a game school or doing some kind of formal study can really help you, as long as you choose the right course, right? So there are a lot of bad courses out there in game development. I'll put it out there. There are a lot of bad courses. There are a lot of people who just slap a title saying game development, and they just, you walk in and they like hand you Unity and say, okay, chalo bhaiya karo, and you'll get a certificate at the end. That is completely useless, right? So there are some decent game schools out there. There are very few of them, but they do exist, and they're in India. There are a few, but abroad they're very expensive, right? So if I'll be very frank, if you have a rich dad, go for it. If you have to take a loan and you have to fund yourself, if you have to pay $50,000 to do a game course, that's going to be kind of hard to repay. But definitely doing a course of study in games is as long as A, you choose the right course, and B, you have the right attitude. You can go to DigiPen and you can spend $50,000, and if you don't focus on your course, you won't get a job and you'll be useless. That said, you can do a 1 lakh rupee course, and if you really work hard to utilize what you get in that course, you'll be fine, right? So so definitely going to game school is a plus, but with 2 caveats that I have mentioned. So yeah, so that's it. But like I said, a lot of people have this dream that you see, even in the chat I can see a lot of people are like, dude, I don't like this mobile game scene. I want to make games for console. I want to make GTA 5. Like I'm going to go to DigiPen and I'm going to get a job at whatever. Like, God bless you. I hope that happens to you, but it's not that easy. Okay, like it's really not that easy. So you know what I mean? I do know people who have had a career path of kind of studying here and then going to the fancy colleges, but they were really, really self-driven people, really, really focused, really, really good at their art. So, like I said, you can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it, but just the degree and just the certificate and just going there will not help you. Like, you have to have this really deep fire inside you that you have to push through all the obstacles. I hope that answered the question.
Very well, Rahul. Thank you so much. Aritra, you put your hand up?
Yes. So this is where the entrepreneur side of gaming industry comes in. That how are you going to use your money well? And yes, when it comes to like spending lakhs on courses, I would really suggest that if you really want to spend on a specialization. Like, what if I want to become a sound engineer? Or what if I really want to become a sculptor? So these are where you should actually spend your money and then focus on building a portfolio rather than something very generic, like spending money on a course like game development or game engineering doesn't make sense. But spending money on specializations, like if you want to be a good programmer, spend money on doing MS in CS, or spend money like in sound engineering and all of the specializations, rather than spending it on a generic thing. There's a lot of students are actually confused, right? Like, do I actually need to get it done? Because you see MIT, you just visit MIT's website and you get a completely free open to use course of game studies and game engineering out there. But what is really not available, on the other hand, is specializations. Like, what if I want to focus on a particular thing? Like, what if I want to write shaders? What if I want to become a technical artist?
Sure, thanks, Aritra. The last question out of that, which has not been covered so far, is essentially how do I convince mommy and daddy that I can get into this industry and not live off their life savings?
I guess this question would be for me, because I'm the youngest one here, and
yeah, I mean, you have a unique career path, but I'd like to get Anand's feedback on this.
Okay.
So Yeah, there's a couple of things to that, right? I can take this from both perspectives, right? I have a teenage boy, and I dropped out of college myself to take up unconventional career. So, Aritra, you don't have to be young to answer that question, man. But what I'm saying is, let's look at it from a couple of viewpoints, right? One is how do you parents being concerned about a career has nothing to do only with games. Their intent is usually that they really genuinely want you to do well. They want the child to be safe, right? That's where they're coming from. So answer that, right? That's what you have to deal with. And there are multiple ways to do it. Once with games, luckily for us, games are no longer this renegade industry that it used to be 15, 20 years ago. Now the numbers are looking like superb, right? Just show them the numbers, show them the revenue numbers, show them the number of jobs, show them the average salaries. Just share that information with them, because parents come from a place of not knowing. They come from a place of ignorance, and all fear comes from ignorance, right? So just share data, do your homework, and sit with them. Don't be confrontational. Sit down and look at what are they concerned about, and try and address that, right? They'll be, what is going through your parents' head? Oh my God, will my child make salary? Will my child be able to get a career? Will my child be able to buy a house? Whatever, right? Get married, whatever. So just make sure that you kind of address those things and talk to them patiently to kind of convince them. That's one. The other thing is, beyond a point, you can't. You really can't. If a parent is going to sit and object to something, and this is not just to do with job, right? It might be marrying someone. It might be moving to a place. It might be the clothes you wear. It might be coming out as gay. I don't know. There are so many things that will lead to conflict with parents. Sometimes you can't do it. You have to wait for time to do its work. If it's really important to you, then don't make the compromise. Take the bullet, move on. Time will heal it. That's the only advice that I have to offer, man.
Wow, Anand, that was really from the heart. Most of us were like really trying to control our laughter here. It was awesome feedback. We're heading towards, literally we're heading towards a wall in terms of the end of this webinar. We have got 2 questions more. I'd like to cover those 2. I guess, Mayank, this would be more for you, because there are some audience members who want to know the most common art development software which you use. I guess in terms of programming, everybody uses Unity in the local industry, at least.
So to answer that, so Maya and Max both have been very, very common and conventional software so far. But there is increasing trend now of, the new free softwares and all that stuff. But, so I would rather stress on the fact that the tools will always be different. There would be proprietary tools, there would be other tools. So tools will always keep changing and keep upgrading. So tools is not really something that should be the focus of learning. The focus of learning should be how to create that particular content. The tools will always be different and will be similar to each other. But the process of making something, that will always stay there. So you have to actually learn the process and not really focus on a tool. So freshers do really focus on tools, but when you're actually, you are into the industry, and let's suppose you are very well versed with one kind of tool, and suddenly you get this requirement that you have to use another software, but achieve the same result. You don't really spend another 6 months to learn that tool. It's hardly a matter of few days. So tools is just that important.
Hello.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I dropped there. So thanks for that feedback. The last question, we have 2 questions, but I'm going to skip the absolute last question, because I think Vaibhav, you can just kind of broadcast your phone number to everybody, because you got a whole bunch of people who want to know how to go independent. So you can just give them the lowdown on how easy that is and how quickly everybody makes money going independent. Take that offline. But the last question for this webinar would be, 4 or 5 people actually have asked about XR, which is VR, AR, mixed reality. They want to know how the skills are relevant in the Indian industry. And I think since we have Aritra here from Unity Tech, it would be best if he answered that.
Okay, as far as compared to games, AR, VR, and MR are really, really, like in demand for aerospace and architecture. Construction and architecture companies are, like just jumping on the tech, and as considered into a huge digital transformation. This quarantine has, like taken us through a huge digital transformation. So there are companies, even in marine, who are jumping onto this tech. But as compared to games, I feel Indian game studios are a bit lagging, or like they're still waiting to like use that for their benefits, like coming up with a game like Pokemon Go or Angry Birds AR.
Okay, thank you, Aritra. So thanks all of you for giving a valuable time in today's webinar. We are completely out of time. Any further questions, audience, please reach out to the individual panelists. Thank you so much. Arjun, over to you.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we had really good number of people, signing up and asking good questions, and we could cover as many number of questions. To everyone there, here listening to us, we will be sharing this as a video in the next couple of days. I would also be sharing this as a link to all of you. Feedback also is something that we really appreciate. Please give us your feedback. We would also look at you giving us ideas of what could be our next set of webinars as well. So thank you so much, and everyone on the panel and Pratik, thanks a lot.
Arjun, we have Rahul who wants to say something.
Sure.
Yeah, guys, just want to say, so I'm actually working on a career resource. It's kind of like an ebook on careers in the game industry, right? So it's something that I've been working on for a while, and it's going to have kind of tips, and it's going to answer a lot of the questions that were being asked today. And I'm kind of giving it out for free. And I think it should be ready in a week. So anybody who wants access to that particular resource, do ping me, email me, whatever, and I will make that resource available to you.
Perfect.
That's awesome, Rahul. Could we just also put it in the YouTube video description, if you don't mind?
Sure,
Reach out
definitely.
to a lot more people.
Okay, yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you all. See you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Bye.